You're listening to the Armchair GM Sports Network.
This is Rod Mahood, your in-game voice of the Niagara IceDogs, and you're listening to the Dog Pound Podcast on the Armchair GM Sports Network, your podcast source for all game analysis, team interviews, and up-to-date news regarding the Niagara IceDogs.
Perlini! Overtime! IceDogs win!
Hosing! Score!
To Akil Thomas. Thomas has the angle coming in. He scores!
Verhaeghe does it again! 52.1 seconds to go. Do you love it, Niagara?
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to another installment of the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs, right here on the Armchair GM Sports Network. Guys, make sure you're following the podcast on Twitter at Dog Pound Podcast for all of our updates and all of our cool little features and graphics that we do. We'll be on there on our Dog Pound Podcast page. Everything regarding the Niagara IceDogs coverage on the network is on there. Yes, Kyle's pointing at the flag. Guys, you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram as well by searching the Armchair GM Sports Network. And guys, if you're listening in audio, you can give us some love there, and on video on YouTube.com by smashing like, smashing subscribe, smashing that bell for all updates on video versions of our podcast to get released
Maybe
here on
don't
the
smash
network.
it. You just click it.
Well, I want you to smash it. I want you to get excited for it, Kyle. That's the whole point of it.
We need a mouse endorsement because you're going to have people smash their mouses and break.
Well, that's their fault.
Smash.
Anyways, guys, you can follow my co-host Kyle right underneath me there on the video version at JustKyle51, and you can follow myself at bcaputo_AGM. Kyle, we're back with another week. Again, the IceDogs here just getting into the end of the season. 3 tough games. One was very exciting, right up to the end against Sudbury. 2 games against Peterborough and Barrie. Not so much, but we'll get into that. We'll get into some other news regarding the team this week, a couple of accomplishments for IceDog players, and we've also got our week wrap-up with head coach Ryan Kuwabara as well, and he talks about some of the progress that he's seeing in that room with emerging leaders on a young IceDogs club. So with that said, Kyle, let's quickly take a look at the team stats from this week. We'll start off with that. And as far as, again, goals for, 15 against, not the greatest. Shots for, 77, 166 shots against. The power play was 1 for 9. The penalty kill was fantastic once again. 9 for 10 on the penalty kill were the IceDogs. And they had a 48.1 face-off percentage this week during the 3 games. As far as player stats go, leading the way was Zachary Lavoie with a goal and 2 assists. The very late goal in Sudbury right off the draw with 2.8 seconds left to tie it. That was one of the craziest goals I've ever seen right off a face-off. And he led the way with 12 shots on net as well. Declan Waddick, Andrew Wysick, and Daniel Michaud also getting goals in that game. Andrew LeBlanc and Mike Podolou also had a high shot total with 9 and 8 respectively this week. So good to see a couple of those guys taking the next step offensively with their game and wanting to shoot the puck more. Owen Flores in the 2 games stopped 101 of 107 shots for a .944 save percentage, including a 60 save performance against Peterborough. And Josh Rosenzweig, not to be forgotten, 50 of 55 with a 910 save percentage in the overtime loss to Sudbury. So, Kyle, out of the team stats and player stats, what sticks out to you?
Well, it's a lot of shots.
Yeah.
It's a lot of shots against, but goalies kind of helped out in the goal situation, I guess, a little bit. It's something that I'll have to work on, obviously. It's we've been saying it for a couple of weeks here in the show that we're in tough waters. We just got to find the positives where the negatives are. Yeah, they're giving up a ton of shots, and it's not something you want to see. But then you look at the positive side, the goalies are looking great in the net for stopping. I mean, Flores, not to outshine Rosenzweig, but Flores has looked fantastic in the last couple of games. You shouldn't have to rely on your goalie to make 60 saves though. Like that's not a natural thing. Like you don't, you're not going in the net expecting to have 50 shots, but he's been getting like 50 plus shots a game and he's been showing up and he's been looking great. So kudos to him. As for the player stat wise, mentioned Zachary Lavoie with that crazy face-off goal, right? The last second in the Sudbury game, which was cool to see, but he's now at the 50-point mark of the season. So getting to that plateau, good for Zachary Lavoie. Sure to be a key player going into the IceDogs lineup going to next year and proven to be a key trade since acquiring him from Mississauga. Waddick and Michaud climbing up the stat line or the stat sheet as well. Michaud at 48 and Waddick at 40. They've really shown, I guess, in the second half of this season to really carry the load on this team, even after all the trades. Asadorian has kind of cooled off a little bit since being in the last couple of weeks. He got off to that really hot start since we acquired him, but I wouldn't put too much worry into that. He's still a very, very skilled player and a player that's going to be a big part of this future.
And he got some dental work this week after the Sunday game in North Bay. Yeah. He had to go for some dental work, so hopefully all went well there with Asadorian. Took one off the face. So hopefully the dental bill wasn't
cage on.
Yeah, hopefully the dental bill wasn't too bad for him. But yeah, playing with a cage sucks. Your peripheral vision isn't as good. But anyways, I just wanted to throw that in there.
Speaking of birdcage, the title of this episode, The Kids Are All Right. I want to make mention. I know they're not showing up really on the sets. I mean, Stewart got his first point.
Yep.
The other
Congrats
game.
to him. First OHL point.
But they've been looking great, all three of them. I've been mainly trying to focus on them three watching these last couple of games because I want to see what we got in them three, because now that they're called up for the rest of the year, there's some injuries out happening right now with the IceDogs and some players out. So these kids are getting a bunch of chances here to play in the OHL. And I think this is smart, right? I think you see what you have in these three players. You get them into that kind of like OHL groove to see what you got out of them as well, because they've been playing junior for most of the year. So if you get them into that OHL groove, you kind of see what you have with them on an OHL level. And I've liked all three of their play. Runko has been just a bruiser back there on defense, throwing his body around and not caring what size the other player is on the other side. He's just throwing his weight in there, and he's looking great. He's kind of looking like a younger Nathan Rebo almost, like on the team. So he's going to fit right into that slot. And even Stewart and Vermeulen have looked fantastic. So I think they're not going to show up on the stat sheet, but watching their play, they'll need to work on a few things. They're still really young. They're going to work on that in the offseason, but the future does look bright with these kids. And I think like the title says, the kids are all right. And I think going to next year's training camp, they're going to be, you're going to be battling for a spot regardless, because you're going to be battling alongside the newer draft picks coming in, other draft picks maybe they have in junior right now that they want to try out as well. So next year's training camp is going to be a very, very competitive one, I think, because there's going to be the current players we have now. Yes, we're losing a couple of OAs, but we have the kids that are coming up, Runko, Vermeulen, and Stewart, and then you have all the draft picks you're bringing in this year up, specifically most likely 2 top 5 picks, so who are most likely going to be playing OHL right away. So it's going to be a little bit of a competitive camp going into next year on the forward side, I think mostly, but I've loved the play out of all three of these, and I think Runko sticks out to me the most too. I've really liked his play.
Yeah, he's solid back there on defense, playing third pair, getting accustomed to the OHL style. That's what these three players are trying to do, is getting accustomed to the OHL game. They're holding their own. We've heard Darren DeDobler rave about Andrew Vermeulen going forward, what he's going to be for this team. We've also heard Landon Cato, the captain of the IceDogs, on last week's Cato's Corner. You can go check that out on last week's episode. He discussed, just how impressed he is with the way that Andrew Vermeulen is developing, and he's going to be a big-bodied forward in this league. Moving forward, and even the head coach Ryan Kuwabara, which we'll get into later, talks about those three guys really making an impact for the IceDogs since they've been called up full time. And that's not an easy thing to do for those three players, especially with all the guys out of the lineup. You think about it: Cato's out, Keene, Jesus, Augustinelli, Hall, Klein. Am I missing anybody?
Off the top of my head, I don't think you are.
Yeah, but those are some key guys in the lineup, and even for Kleiner and Hull to be out of the lineup, those are two guys that were playing. They were really stepping it up in the bottom six. So you lose those two guys, you're without your captain, you're without two overage D men right now in Jesus and Keane and Augustinelli, who's a veteran, banger type player. So it's just a shame that they've got so many guys on the shelf right now, because I'd like to see what this team could have done when they had everybody in the lineup, if they would have been, a little bit more competitive down the stretch here. But like you mentioned, the kids are really stepping in. Vermeulen, Runco, and Stewart are all doing a good job, and congrats to William Stewart on getting his first career OHL point with an assist on Saturday night. So that was really good for him.
Yeah, and they're we were talking about off air too. These kids are some big kids. Like, we've seen them up close and personal too. These are some big bodied kids, and I think they're gonna, kids at this age often grow most of the time in the off season. So we'll see how they fill out in the off season and what they look like going into camp and what they've worked on. I imagine that they're going to be hyper focused on making the team next year out of camp. So, but they're getting a little good teaser into what to expect for the OHL going into next year. So they're going to be much more prepared than if they just played junior or didn't play this year. So this is a good thing to see what you have in all three of them. And I like all three of them. I think all three can compete and battle for a spot at a camp next year. So I'm very excited for all three. Vermeulen, Stewart, and Runco all look promising. And again, does not take anything away from the other rookies on the team, like Ryan Van Netten, Kevin He. Kevin He's all but going to be probably a superstar if he continues to develop the current way he's developing. So it's just I've brought it up a couple of times on the show. The future does look bright with this team, as much as some people want to not see it. The future is extremely bright with this franchise. So I think a lot of people just need to have a little patience and let the management do their work, let them do their due diligence in the off season. And I guarantee it's going to be different next year. It's going to be a lot different.
I don't think anybody wants to have a season like we just went through here. So
I think they said it was like, I think it was the North Bay commentators. They mentioned that we're trajectorying to our worst record in franchise history, which kind of is unfortunate, but it is what it is. You can't change. Like, if it happens, it happens. You're not going to change that.
No,
you just move on, right?
But again, I think Ted's brought this up a few times, that the IceDogs have won 2 Eastern Conference championships. There's 3 or 4 teams in the league that haven't even won one in that time. So, again, I think, the IceDogs have made the playoffs every year, and we were kind of accustomed to that, and maybe we got a little bit spoiled. Even though they hadn't won a championship, they were making the playoffs every year, and now they've had a couple of down years. I know people are frustrated out there, and believe me, fans, we hear you. We understand that you're frustrated. We want to see this team succeed just as much as all of you do. So that's why it's so important to really be positive going into this offseason. Hopefully they can get home runs on these picks, make the right moves in the offseason, and have this team come back and be competitive and be one that you guys will be proud to go down to the rink and see on a day-to-day or on a game-to-game basis, and even finishing out the season strong, because this is really a job interview for a lot of these guys moving forward into the next season.
Exactly.
So let's move on to one of the current players, and we got to give him a shout-out because he's been through a lot this year. Andrew Wysick, 2 big milestones for him this week. One, scoring his first goal of the season, so I know that was huge for him to finally get that that monkey off the back. And then also being named the Academic Player of the Month in the Ontario Hockey League for the Central Division. So really good to see for Andrew Wysick. Great kid, great family as well, and we know the amount of adversity he's gone through off the ice this year with the multiple of injuries to get back in the lineup this year. It's been really nice to see Andrew, fitting back into the lineup and then being rewarded with getting his first goal of the season.
Yeah, he's had another player that's had a good second half of the year, having to overcome that horrible injury that he suffered, and he was out for a long time. He's battled through that, and now he's basically getting into that role. He knows from talking to him, he knows that going into next year, he's going to be heavily leaned on to be almost like a veteran presence on this team, because it's going to be a lot of the OAs filtering out, and you're left with Landon Cato as the the serving OA on defense next year. So he's had an exceptional battle back from injury, now winning academic player of the month, which is great to see. And it's good to see stuff like that, because at the end of the day, these kids are still in school, right? He's still in high school. Apparently he's achieving academic excellence in all his grade 12 courses. According to his academic advisor, Tim Tope, he puts Andrew is an excellent student, is currently holding an average in the high 80s, which is great to see. Andrew is well respected by staff and students and is sure to lead the Ice Dogs for years to come. So good endorsement by the academic advisor for his high school. So good on Andrew Weisick, a good kid and a good head on his shoulders.
Yeah, and it's really good to see him getting back in there, being a top 4 D-man right now. And, we raved about him as one of the best players that we saw in training camp. It was night and day from what we had seen from him.
Yeah.
The previous year, he got a lot faster. You could tell he was more confident with the puck. You could tell he was laying the body more. So we were really looking forward to what Andrew Weisick was going to bring this season, and then unfortunately got hurt early in the season and has really had to battle back. But what could have been a great season for Andrew Weisick, but again, he's battling through the adversity that every player has to go through, and even every young man turning into his adult years is gonna have to battle through. But it just goes to show that good character, good perseverance, will shine through, and that's what Weisick's shown here in the latter third of the season.
Exactly, smart kid, that Andrew.
Yeah, better grades than I ever had.
Kid.
That's for sure. Moving on to another accomplishment this week, Bronson Ride, big body defenseman, acquired from the Windsor Spitfires and is on the NHL Central scouting list for the upcoming NHL draft. Let's ride. And he rode in his 100th OHL game this week, so congrats to Ryder for that. Still seems to be a no-show when it comes to our Ask the Players feature that we've been doing.
He's hilarious.
Yeah. But expect another one of those coming out this week.
I think he does it on purpose. I'm convinced he's doing it on purpose.
I think he's messing with us.
Yeah.
I think he's got something against me because I'm like half his size, even though I'm double his age.
There you go. If we took two of you, Brandon, put them on top of each other, probably wouldn't even get to his height.
Yeah, except he's like 17 and
on
I'm
skates
30.
too, because he's huge.
Yeah. So great with that. But let's see here. OHL or Ice Dogs player stats. So let's quickly go over that. You mentioned Zach Lavoie, 50 points now. As a member of the Ice Dogs, 31 points in 33 games. Daniel Michaud, Declan Wadick, and Andrew LeBlanc. That line has really come together, and it seems like they've built a lot of chemistry. And again, that is a line going forward. In the next season, we'll see if they decide to keep that together. But all three of those players could be back with the Ice Dogs next season. Also, Kevin He, the goal watch is still on. I believe he needs 3 more to tie Akil Thomas for the all-time rookie goal lead by an Ice Dog rookie. So Kevin He's getting there. A little bit snake-bitten in the last little bit, but I'm sure he's gripping the stick a little harder trying to score goals. But Kevin He, again, as Adam Henrich said, the director of scouting a couple weeks ago, he thinks Kevin He's going to score 100 points in this league. So again, the jury's out on that, but we'll wait and see on that. But Kyle, who's kind of been sticking out to you lately, other than the rookies that you've been impressed with, in the last week or so, even from the games this week, despite 2 of the games getting the goose egg? Is there somebody that really stuck out to you? Because to me, it was Zachary Lavoie.
Yeah, he's really showing not only like the point wise, but Zachary is also showing his 2-way game a lot as well. I've noticed a little bit of defensive work that he's put in on the back end. So he's really working on his 2. You can see he's been working on his 2-way game a lot in the last couple of games, and also hungry for that puck. Like, he's always hungry to score for this team and to put the puck in the back of the net. So that's what I love to see. And it's showing right now this year with 50 points, 31 in 33 games since coming to Niagara. Even Alex Asadorian, you see what he played 32 games with Sudbury, only 8 points. Yeah, he wasn't getting a lot of playing time, but look what he's done with Niagara so far. 26 games, 26 points. So both of them have really impressed me. And I know Kevin He's going to do it. I am on the firm believer, and I put money down if there's a betting line, that Kevin He is going to tie that record.
Tie it? You think he'll break it?
I want him to break it so bad. I want him to break it. But you know what? I think he's going to at least tie. He has the ability to do it. He's that good.
He is that good. He's him for sure.
Hey.
I can't believe I just said that. But now I'm all frazzled. I don't even remember what I was gonna say. But the injured players. So again, we're hoping David Jesus and Evan Klein may be back this week. We'll wait and see. Head coach Ryan Kuwabara said they're still day to day. So again, who knows with that? But I think having those two guys back in the lineup will be big. Valdemar William Hall, again, he's got something going on with his wrist, so he has been practicing, which is a good sign. We'll see if he's back in the lineup or not, but just the amount of guys out of the lineup right now is not helping the cause for this team because they could surely use some of those bodies.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're going to take a commercial break on the show today, guys. We're going to come back, and we're going to talk about the wrap-up with head coach Ryan Kuwabara and preview the upcoming games for this week and a couple of announcements regarding a Jersey night and season tickets. So stay right here. Be right back on the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara Ice Dogs.
Experience a new way to play daily fantasy sports and esports on Thrive Fantasy. Thrive's game concept revolves around player props, which are simple over-unders on player stats. There are contests for traditional sports including the NFL, NBA, MLB, PGA, and cricket, as well as esports titles including CSGO, Dota 2, League of Legends, and more coming soon. Here's how to play. Choose your lineup of over-unders for top-tier athletes that have the biggest impact on the game. Each prop has a fantasy point total based on how likely it is to hit. The more points the selection is worth, the riskier it is. Rack up the most points and win a share of the prize pool. Thrive is awarded over $2 million in cash, so come and prop up today.
Hey, this is Landon Cato.
Hey, it's Juan Copeland.
This is Kevin Heath.
This is Zach Lavoie.
It's Owen Flores.
You're listening to the Dog Pound Podcast,
The official podcast
of the Niagara Ice Dogs.
Yes, welcome back to segment 2 of today's Dog Pound Podcast. Brandon Caputo and Kyle Lake back with here. Guys, if you're enjoying the podcast, make sure you're hitting like, smash, and subscribe, and smashing that bell on all platforms you listen to us in audio or on video version. We really appreciate it. At the time of recording this video, I've just received the This Week in Ice Dogs History segment from the voice of the Niagara Ice Dogs, Ted Lehman, on Country 89, GiantFM.com. So I will be inserting it into the episode here, and hopefully you guys will enjoy This Week in Ice Dogs History, as always on this show.
A busy March week in Ice Dogs history. I'm Ted Lehman. Start on the 7th of March back in 2008. He's one of a kind, did it in the Ice Dogs inaugural season. We're talking Luca Caputi, his 50th goal of that campaign. It came 116 into a 5-2 win in Brampton. Go to March 8th in 2012. Ice Dogs had a chance to win the division for the first time right there. Big party on home ice. Not to be 43 shots, but they were blanked on home ice against Mississauga 2-0. But I guess it's only appropriate. They did it right in the barn of their most noted playoff opponent. The Ice Dogs would clinch the Central Division Championship March 9th, 2012 with a 5-1 win at the Civic Center in Ottawa. To the year 2013, the date was March 10th. Ryan Strome would record his 181st record-setting and final assist in Ice Dogs colors. Happened in a 6-5 loss to Barrie. Guess it's only appropriate. He would set up a 40th goal for who else but Brett Ritchie. And finally, on the 11th of March back in 2012, Anthony Agazzino, he leads in so many historical Ice Dogs categories. He would score his 159th and final Ice Dogs goal. Did it in a 5-2 win in Kingston. Birthdays this week in Ice Dogs history. On Tuesday the 7th, Brandon Shaw celebrated number 28. Happy birthday to the Ice Dogs assistant coach. 21 for former Ice Dog Jake Uberti. And on the 12th, here in the month of March, Chris O'Flaherty is going to celebrate his 18th. Happy birthday to all. I'm Ted Lehman. That's our look again this week in IceDogs history.
And again, we're not listening to it live, so,
I have no idea what he said.
Great job, Teddy. But
great job! What a history! Wow, could you believe that history segment, guys? What we just heard? Could you believe what we just heard? Incredible! What a history in IceDogs history! Unbelievable! Teddy does it again.
The history in IceDogs history. Jeez.
Yeah,
too many histories in there. This week in IceDogs history. That's how much it's on our mind. I know it's your favorite segment of the show, Kyle. Unfortunately, you'll just have to go back to the episode and listen to it. But thank you, Ted, for getting it in, and I will post-edit, insert that in there. So, guys, all the radio broadcasts of the IceDogs can be listened to live on Country 89 with the voice of the Niagara IceDogs, Ted Lehman. So thank you. Thank you very much, Teddy, for another great history lesson. Anyways, guys, I guess the second audio portion of today's show is our wrap-up with head coach of the Niagara IceDogs, Ryan Kuwabara, following the 3-game week. So here he is. Here's our conversation with Coach K. Here on the post-game with head coach the IceDogs, Ryan Kuwabara, following the 3-game week. Coach, when you're playing teams like Peterborough and North Bay this week, just what is the message going in there? Because you know that they're going to be having some high-powered offenses. You're going to get outshot by these teams. So what is the message going in there that you guys are going to try to attempt to really get those teams off their game and try to do something different to really try to be successful against those top-end teams?
Yeah, it's tough, right? They got a lot of firepower, and, obviously we're just trying to slow them down through the neutral zone and, try not to give up odd man rushes. But sometimes, when young guys are trying hard, they're going to make a mistake, and usually that's when they're able to capitalize. But our first period maybe is a little too loose. We tightened up in the second and third, and we had a couple chances there. We hit a post in the second that might have made it 3-1, gave us a little bit of energy. But I credit the guys. They still stick with it. They work hard. They do all the little things. They're trying. They really are, and it's it's exciting for me just to be able to say, okay, yeah, guys, you know what? That's a tough lineup, but if you can hold them to 3, like we're slowly getting there.
Right, and again, it's the last Northern road trip, so the back-to-back Sudbury, North Bay, not the easiest turnaround. So no. The fact that, they were able to remain in this game against a top team like North Bay, there are positives that you take. I know you guys got to work on, getting the shots on net when they're there, but are there positives that you can take despite not getting the results that show on paper, and that you don't come away with the 2 points? And some people only say that, you didn't get the 2 points, so it didn't matter. But do you, as the coach, see the in-depth, the little things that you're trying to instill in this team with the systems and things like that?
Yeah, obviously that's what makes it exciting and refreshing for me, because it's tough for me to go in, day out, and just try to explain everything and make sure they understand. But then you see the flashes when they do it, and it's like, okay, he's getting it. It's good. It's going to be okay, right? So that's the positives I can take out of it. I know our staff, we work really hard, just diving into video and trying to break down some maybe spots where we can take advantage of other teams. And they're trying. They're trying to execute. Like I said, sometimes young guys they get too anxious, or that maybe the play's there to make, and when the plays may just be a simple play, right? So.
And the game against Sudbury, I mean, that was quite exciting. Have you ever been a part of something like that, where you needed a goal with less than 5 seconds left, and to get that quick draw off the face-off, baiting the goaltender and thinking that Asadorian was going to get the puck off the face-off, but Lavoie takes the shot and gets that game tied? Have you ever been a part of something like that such a late comeback in the dying seconds?
No, well, I have to go back in the memory banks for a bit, but definitely those are exciting. That's what we built off today a little bit, right? It's just I showed them the clip of scoring that goal and the energy it brought our group, and it's just those are the little positives we have to take away from it. Make sure the game's still fun, and we're still trying out there.
And how do you feel like the compete level is, and the energy level, despite a quick turnaround like that? Are you pleased with the way that the guys are responding to what you guys are trying to instill in them, and with the fight that they're still giving with only 8 games left in the season and the playoffs are out of it? But it's a job opportunity for a lot of these guys for next year, a job interview to see what they might have to impress you guys for next season. So how do you feel? How do you think that they're balancing that?
Yeah, it's tough to come into games like this when they have, like I said, a lot of firepower, but definitely for guys to make small improvements over the course of this month, last month was pretty tough to have any practice time to work on stuff, right? It was game after game after game, it felt like. So, yeah, like obviously it's an audition for a lot of these guys, just looking at, what their potential could be. That's what I mean with the little improvements day by day. And, if they can absorb that and put it into play during games here, maybe not all the time, but, the majority of the time, and learn how to defend, whether it's defending or whether it's in the offensive zone, just trying to, make a simple play, just get the pucks to the net, and then, out battle them in the net front.
And how have you felt like those three guys that you called up from Brantford that are now playing full time with William Stewart, Andrew Vermeulen, and Gabe Runco?
Yep.
How do you feel like those guys are getting accustomed to the OHL level and to your style as the way you guys want to play? How do you feel like those guys are coming along and progressing as OHL players?
Yeah, no, for sure. It's tough to step in after you've been at a lower level, and to come in with expectations of just trying to keep learning. They've done a great job. I think the more they practice with us and play with us, the more comfortable they're becoming, right? So you can see when, yesterday when, Stewie made a play to whiz there for the first goal, and, little things Verm's doing out here, and Runks is being a physical presence. So, stuff like that is just, bodes well for them, their confidence, and then, seeing what they can do in the future.
And lastly, when there's veterans out of the lineup, your captain's out on the trip, are you seeing signs that other guys are stepping up in the absence of the David Jesus, the Jared Keane, the Landon Catos? Are you seeing that there's other leaders emerging in that room as we progress even into next season, as you look at guys to round out your A's and your captains? Like, are you seeing that there's progress and maturity going on in that room for a young roster?
Yeah, for sure. It's a slow process. Obviously, you want certain guys to step up and take control, and certain guys, it's just sometimes it's a learning experience. Being a leader is a tough thing when it's not not natural. It's sometimes you gotta work through it and make some mistakes, and then learn how to be a good leader. So no, definitely guys are slowly getting there for sure.
Ryan Kuwabara, head coach of the IceDogs, thanks so much for doing this. We'll talk again next week.
I appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Kyle, takeaways from what Coach K had to say this week.
I think the main thing is that he's impressed the teams at least trying out there. Yeah, I heard him say that a lot throughout this interview, that that it's not like the team's going out there and just flopping and not trying. He sees the hard work where it does show, even if a team is losing, that he's at least impressed and happy with how the team is with the compete level that they have going into these games, and showing that they're at least competing and where they're improving. So that at least was the biggest thing I got from Ryan. And I know it's even tough to do coach interviews when it's like almost the same thing that happens every week. It's like, what else can you really say? But he mentions that a lot, that he's still impressed with how these players are competing, even with the way the season is. And even if, no matter what period of the game it is, how far behind they are still competing and trying their damnedest to get back in the game. So that's a huge takeaway, I think.
And I think the other thing to mention is it seems like they're really starting to get used to his system. You can see like they're making passes to where they're expecting guys to be, and for the most part, there's still mistakes, but those players are where the puck is supposed to be when making those plays. That's the system that he's trying to instill in the rest of the coaching staff. So you can see there's confidence in them learning that to play this type of style and within this structure.
Yeah, and that's important too, right? You as a coach, you want your players to play in the system that you think is going to help them not only just keep competing from start to finish in games, but eventually become a winning formula, which that's what he's trying right now. And that's what, is going to go into next year. They're going to look at what worked, look at what not worked in the offseason. That's what coaches do. And if they need to tweak the system, they tweak the system and then bring it out in training camp. And this is what we're going to do. But you can see with that system, like you mentioned, that the players are adjusting to what Kuwabara is instilling in them. And we're seeing them change. Like the way they're playing now is, and this has nothing to do with the wins and losses. I don't want to take this out of proportion here. This has to do with the style of play and how they move the puck up and down the ice. It's a lot different than what we saw earlier in the year. And you know what? I think it's a system that can work. maybe need some little bit of minor adjustments here and there. But I mean, again, who do I know? I'm not a coach, but I imagine that they'll be looking at what works and what doesn't work in the offseason. But yeah, exactly that.
And again, people are saying, "Oh, they're getting outshot by 40 every game." It's like, I understand that, but that's not. Again, this is the team the rest of the season here. So again, they're going against some teams that have literally traded all draft picks away. They've loaded up. They've got 10 NHL prospects or going to be NHL prospects on their rosters. Like, obviously, this team's going to get, outshot on most nights just with the way that it's going right now. But, again, they're still finding a way to get the goals and remaining in these games despite the heavy shot total against them. But they have enough confidence in Rosie and Flores back there that they're going to be able to make those saves when needed. And those goalies, they're up for the challenge. Like, bring it on. Bring on 50 shots a game. They're still young kids, so they've got a lot more energy than maybe 25 or 30-year-old goaltenders would be able to have. So I think it's, you can start to see improvements. Yes, they've got to get their shots on net up. Yes, they've obviously got to, get better on the power play here. But, again, they're a young roster learning how to play in a new coach's style, and some players adjusting to the OHL level. You can see that they're getting there. One player I want to mention again, I think I mentioned him on last week's show, is Mike Podolou. Like, this guy continues to impress me. He's not getting on the score sheet for like a player that's really shown me a lot. Yeah. But 9 shots on net this week. Yeah, he was playing against his old team in North Bay, so you'd expect him to have a big game there. But even in the other 2 games, he's just one of those guys where you can move him up and down the lineup as a center. He can take key draws in the offensive zone, in the defensive zone. He's got great speed for a bigger player. And he's a hard-nosed player. He'll go to the front of the net. He'll bang. He'll go in the corner and forecheck. Like, I just love Mike Podolou's game. He continues to just get better and better, more confident, and I really look forward to seeing what he could bring this next year if they decide that he might be a part of this.
Yeah, he's another player I can see definitely working on his game throughout the offseason, working on what he needs to improve on, and another guy that's going to be coming in the training camp looking a hell of a lot different, a hell of a lot better. I just get that feeling with him, and just from seeing his play since we've acquired him, even till now, that short bit, he's drastically improved. So the sky's the limit with him as well, and I think he's another player to keep an eye on going into next year's camp.
Yeah, and he's got a lot of speed as well for like I said, cutting down the wing. It looks like it's one of the elite players. Like, he's got like this deceivingly good speed. So really like what I see from Mike Podolou. And Andrew LeBlanc, again, continuing to get a high shot total, continuing to get back there. Again, it was hard for him missing the first half of the year, but he's taken a next step in his game and showing why he was a first-round pick in this league a couple years back. But before we wrap up the show today, guys, again, a lighter episode as far as features go. But, Kyle, you've got a few things to mention as far as IceDogs team news. So what do we got this week?
Well, we do have games coming up left, folks, especially this week. When you're hearing this, we have Thursday and Saturday home games. Then the next home games after that are the last 3 games of the season. So lots of home games still to check out with the IceDogs and to get out there and support this team and support the future of this team. But this Thursday, specifically Thursday's home game, is the Real Canadian Superstore President's Choice Children's Charity jersey game. If you guys remember the striped black and red striped IceDog jersey, I believe that'll be the same jersey again this year. Or there'll be a different design, but as a design jersey, and all game worn jerseys will be auctioned off again after the game. And the President's Choice Children's Charity will be the house that will be all the jersey money will be going to. So if you know about the jersey auction, you parents out there, and we know you listen to the show, that'll be happening this Thursday after the home game against Hamilton. So I can't wait to see what the specialty jerseys have hit this year. They've been really good. So I'm excited to see what the next one is. And again, I know we said it was the title of our episode a couple of weeks ago, but we're in the home stretch. We're getting down to the end of the season. And again, still have time to support the future of this team and still support them right now and still, get down to the rink and watch these players. It's still some great hockey, and the fans do such a good job coming out and in droves, in packs, and just filling that arena, no matter where the Ice Dogs are in the standings. And we literally are the best fan base in the OHL, and it's not an understatement. So,
again, when they're going into some of these games, the results might not be there, but you can see that they're trying for you guys out there. They want to make sure that you get your money's worth. Again, the results aren't there when you're going against some of these top loaded teams, but they really do appreciate your support and come out and support these kids because they really thrive on that. So I just wanted to mention that before you move on.
Well, other than that, we do have a plan for a big end of the year wrap up episode. We're going to do some of our own awards to give out the players. We're going to do kind of like a draft outlook, maybe some potential prospects that could be future Ice Dogs, and maybe kind of do like a future look at the team going into next year. So we usually like to do a big episode for that one. So that'll be a little longer than usual, but again, season wrap up. And then we'll say that on the show then, and even now, we're going to do our absolute best to keep you guys up to date with as much content as possible. I know the off season's a little dry and there's not a lot of happening, but we're going to do our best.
Yeah. Player interviews if we can, draft coverage for the day of the draft. We're still trying to figure out details with that. Maybe we get some of the scouts on. Maybe Adam Hendricks comes on. I don't know. We're trying to see if we can get some of the management. Brian Drury.
Our pal, Brian Drury, on the show.
Yeah.
And I know he's listening.
Yeah.
We're going to give you a call, Brian. Yeah, You're coming on the show.
We'll
100%.
We'll give him a call at some point or on the draft day special. But, we're going to, again, just because the season's winding down doesn't mean our coverage is going to end. We're going to continue being with you guys here through the off season. Season tickets are now available to be renewed as well. So you can get your season tickets for next season. You get to see obviously Kevin he's on the graphics, so he's one guy.
He is.
So again, I know the croutons out there, renew season tickets. Yeah, well, guess what? Every team has to renew season tickets. So this is the time.
They're gonna stop.
This is the time to do it.
Oh no, we're in last place. Got to stop season tickets.
Yep.
Can't have them anymore.
Oh,
too bad.
This week is going to be probably the last installment, maybe ever, of the Battle of the QEW, because it'll be our last time home and home against Hamilton tomorrow, which is Thursday.
Dude, there's no QEW that goes to Brantford, is there?
I don't think so.
I don't know the highways up there. I know up to Hamilton, Toronto, and after that, it's I don't know. I got to look.
Yeah, I don't think so. But then Friday will be our last trip to the First Ontario Center for at least for the next 3 years, with the renovations going on there. Hopefully they fix it so that we don't have to, go on a catwalk to the press box in 3 years. If the Bulldogs even return, maybe they stay in Brantford if the support's good there and they do some renovating to that rink that they're expecting to happen. But it'll be the last Hamilton Bulldogs versus Niagara Ice Dogs home and home matchup Thursday and Friday this week. So looking forward to that, and I'm sure we'll be having some friendly banter with our friends over at the Hammertown podcast, Colin and Reese. So, always fun, I guess you can say, with those guys. But
F-U-N, that's how you spell fun.
Yeah, and again, we'll try to get on the board here. It's been a while since been able to beat the older brother there in the Hamilton Bulldogs up the QEW. But Kyle, anything else before we wrap up today's lighter Dog Pound podcast episode?
Nope. I'm excited for this week. Sure to be a fun week. Let's get a W against Hamilton. That's what I want. That's what I'm looking forward to this week. That's what I want to see out of this week. I want to see a dub against the Bulldogs, whether it's there or here or both. Both will be nice. Let's get a dub.
And Saturday against Ottawa, the top team coming in. So if you guys want to see the top team in the Ontario Hockey League, come out and see the Ottawa 67s, I guess.
Come see, you want. What's his name?
Dave Cameron as head coach.
Dave Cameron's dumping Chase Style for the entire game. Love that.
But they're a really good team, so can't take anything away from them. So the home and home with Hamilton and then Ottawa. So 2 chances to see the Ice Dogs at home Thursday and Saturday. Should be a good one down at the Meridian Center, and always a great crowd. And hopefully you get some giveaways and things like that. Maybe they get a cheeseburger goal. Maybe we get a spicy tie. Maybe we get the big Marcos 3 stars of the game.
Yeah, you're forgetting about the free curly fry from Arby's, the helmet sponsors.
Yep.
There you go.
So, guys, that's going to wrap it up for another episode of the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara Ice Dogs. Make sure you're following us at Dog Pound Podcast on Twitter and on Facebook and Instagram by searching the Armchair GM Sports Network. And this episode's also available on our website, armchairgmsports.com. So thank you to everybody listening in audio form on demand and watching us in our glorious faces here on YouTube on the video version. Until next week, for Kyle Lakett, my name is Brandon Caputo. Bark, bark, bark. Go Dogs, go. And we talk to you guys again next week. You're listening to the Armchair GM Sports Network.